The galaxy had always whispered about them, the ones who ruled with fear. Entire worlds surrendered at the sight of their warships. Entire armies laid down weapons when they felt the chill of their presence. They were hunters, creatures born to feed on terror itself, and no species had ever dared to face them without trembling. That was their strength. That was their power. Fear kept civilizations quiet and obedient. But when they came to Earth, something strange happened. The skies were torn open by fire as their dark ships descended. Cities shook, oceans boiled under their engines, and countless people felt despair creeping into their hearts. Yet among the chaos, not every human bowed. Some resisted, not with weapons strong enough to pierce alien armor, but with something else entirely. They resisted with defiance. They resisted with courage. The alien commanders had expected screaming, submission, the usual chorus of begging that filled their ears whenever they arrived on a new world. Instead, they heard shouts of resistance, saw fire in human eyes, and even laughter among soldiers who stood their ground when defeat seemed certain. This confused them. They were creatures of fear, and suddenly fear did not work as it always had. The alien Huntress was sent to investigate. She was one of their strongest, tall, graceful, deadly, and terrifyingly beautiful, with her glowing eyes and sharp smile. She had never known failure. Entire populations had crumbled before her presence alone. She fed on fear the way humans fed on bread. But this time, she was sent not to conquer, but to test the humans more closely, to see why fear was not crushing them as expected. She walked through the ruins of a battlefield where humans had fought until the last breath. Burned vehicles still smoked, and broken weapons littered the ground. Yet something felt wrong. Even among the dead, she sensed courage. It unsettled her, and then she saw him. A lone human stood among the wreckage. His clothes were torn, his body marked with cuts and burns, but his eyes held no fear. Instead, he smiled when he saw her. Not a mocking smile, not one of madness, but a calm, steady smile, as if he had been waiting for this moment. The Huntress stopped. For the first time in her long existence, she hesitated. Normally, victims collapsed or begged the moment she appeared. But this man only tightened his grip on a broken piece of metal he carried as if it were a weapon, and looked straight into her glowing eyes. "Are you not afraid?" she asked, her voice like a shadow crawling across stone. The human tilted his head and wiped the blood from his lip. "Afraid of what?" "You breathe fear, but that doesn't mean I have to give it to you." Her smile widened, sharp teeth glinting in the firelight. No one had ever answered her like that. His courage was not just unusual. It was dangerous. It weakened her in ways she did not understand, because without fear, she had nothing to feed on. Around them, silence hung heavy. The alien Huntress studied him like a puzzle. He should have broken already, yet here he was, standing firm, his heartbeat steady. Something about him unsettled her more than an army ever could. The war had only just begun, but in that single moment, something shifted. She realized that humans were not like the others. Their strength was not in numbers nor in weapons, but in the way they smiled when facing death itself. And for the first time, doubt touched the heart of the Huntress. The human's calm smile stayed in her mind long after their eyes first met. The alien Huntress had walked through fire, through the screams of countless civilizations, and never once had she been met with such defiance. Courage was not supposed to exist in her presence. Fear was her weapon, and without it she felt something she had never known before: uncertainty. She circled him slowly, her glowing eyes cutting through the smoke. Every instinct told her to end him quickly, to crush this human before his courage could spread to others. But something held her back. She wanted to understand why he did not tremble. "You know what I am," she whispered, her voice echoing like a storm in the ruins. "You know what I can do to you." The man did not lower his eyes. His body trembled slightly from blood loss and exhaustion, but his voice was steady when he answered. "You can kill me. You can burn this world. But fear is a choice, and I choose not to give it to you." Her lips curled into a sharp grin. "You think courage will save you?" Your people will fall. Your cities will crumble. And you will beg like all the others. The man's smile only deepened. Then you don't know us at all. The huntress felt a strange pull inside her chest. She had been trained to draw power from fear, to feed on the terror of her prey. Yet standing before him, there was no fear to taste, no energy to consume. Instead, his courage burned in the air like a fire she could not extinguish. It unsettled her more than any weapon could. Behind them, the battlefield was quiet. Smoke rose from shattered machines, and the faint sound of crackling flames filled the silence. She could sense other humans nearby, hidden, wounded but alive. Even in their broken state, none of them radiated the fear she needed. Instead, there was a strange energy running through them, like stubborn hope refusing to die. The huntress stepped closer, her sharp features illuminated by the glowing lines across her dark skin. Why do you smile, human? Do you not understand what I am? I do, he replied, raising his chin. You are a predator who feeds on weakness, but we are not weak. Even when we lose, we do not break. That's something you'll never understand. His words struck deeper than any blade. For the first time, the huntress felt something stir within her. Doubt. She was not supposed to doubt. She was a conqueror, a weapon of fear, a legend whispered across the stars. Yet here was one wounded human, and his defiance was enough to make her pause. She reached out, placing a clawed hand near his chest, close enough to feel his heartbeat. It was strong, steady, unshaken. She could not take it from him. The fear she sought was simply not there. The man leaned forward slightly, meeting her burning eyes. If you came here expecting to own us with fear, you chose the wrong species. You'll find we're a lot harder to break than you imagined. The huntress pulled her hand back, her sharp smile fading for the first time. Something about his words echoed in her mind, twisting against everything she believed. She turned away, staring into the smoke-filled horizon where human resistance still lingered. They were supposed to be easy prey, but this was not going to be like the other worlds. Humans fought differently, humans endured differently, and in their courage, she saw the beginning of something dangerous, something that could challenge her kind's rule over the galaxy. The human's smile haunted her as she walked away from the battlefield. For the first time in her long life, the huntress realized she had not won by standing in front of him. Instead, she had lost something she had never expected to lose, her certainty. The huntress left the battlefield, but the image of the human would not leave her thoughts. His steady heartbeat, his calm smile, his words, they pressed against her mind like a weight she could not shake off. She had faced warlords, assassins, soldiers and leaders from countless worlds. Every one of them had broken. Yet one wounded man standing in the ruins of his people's defense had denied her what she needed most. Her kind would not understand her hesitation. If she told them she had walked away without draining him of fear, they would call it weakness. To them, doubt was forbidden, courage was poison. But she could not forget him. Something about his presence had unsettled her more than any blade ever had. That night, as the alien fleet secured the skies, she moved silently through the ruins again. Her people hunted the survivors, expecting her to deliver them broken and trembling. Instead, she searched for him. She wanted to see if his courage was real, or if it had been a mask that crumbled once she was gone. She found him not hiding, but working. His wounds were wrapped with cloth, his arm carried scars, but he was not resting. He was lifting debris, pulling other humans from the rubble, giving them water, whispering words of hope. Even broken and bleeding, he was not afraid. He was leading. The huntress watched from the shadows. She could hear the voices of the others. Some cried, some cursed, but none of them looked at her with the terror she was used to. Instead, their eyes kept drifting to the man. His calmness was spreading like fire in dry grass. One of her own soldiers approached, a tall figure wrapped in black armor, his voice sharp and cruel. "Huntress, why do you wait? Their fear is ripe. Let us feed." And end this quickly. She turned to him, her glowing eyes narrowing. "Not yet," the The soldier sneered, confused. Not yet. They are only humans. Break them. Show them their place. The huntress hissed softly, silencing him. She could feel it in the air. If she crushed these survivors now, she would win a battle, but she would lose something greater. The humans were not like the others. If they were allowed to stand, they would inspire resistance across the stars. If they were broken, they would rise again stronger. She needed to understand them before making her next move. The soldier, frustrated, obeyed her command, though his eyes burned with suspicion. She knew she was being watched, judged by her own kind. Still, she stayed hidden in the ruins, listening to the humans speak. Fear is what they want, the man told the survivors as he passed them water. His voice was hoarse but firm. Don't give it to them. They can take our homes, they can take our lives. But if they don't take our courage, they can never win. The words struck her like blades. She had heard leaders rally their people before, but this was different. He was not promising victory. He was promising defiance. Even in defeat, he offered strength. That was new. That was dangerous. The huntress felt her heart race, a sensation she had not known in centuries. She was supposed to be the predator, but in that moment, watching him stand among the broken, she felt as if she was the one being hunted. His courage stripped her power away piece by piece. For the first time, she began to wonder, what if fear was not the strongest weapon in the galaxy? What if there was something greater, something her kind had overlooked? The night deepened, and the huntress slipped back into the shadows. But her thoughts were no longer her own. They belonged to the human who smiled in the face of death, and the unsettling truth that she could not make him fear her. The alien fleet hovered above, the ruined cities like dark clouds ready to strike again. From their command chamber, the elders of her kind waited for reports. The huntress stood before them, her glowing skin casting eerie light across the floor. They expected victories, broken enemies, rivers of fear. Instead, she offered silence. You hesitate, one of the elders growled, his voice heavy and cold. You were sent to break the humans. Why do they still resist? The huntress lowered her head but kept her voice calm. Their fear is different. It does not flow as it should. They fight even when hope is gone. They do not give what we need. The chamber stirred with whispers, sharp and accusing. Every species gives, another elder said, eyes narrowing. Fear is universal. Do not insult us with excuses. Her hands tightened at her sides. She could not tell them about the human who smiled in her presence, about the strange pull she felt when she looked into his eyes. To her kind, such thoughts were weakness. She chose her words carefully. They are not like the others. If we push too fast, they may grow stronger. I suggest we watch, learn, and strike when their courage is spent. The elders exchanged glances. Some sneered, others nodded with faint interest. At last the eldest leaned forward. His skin burned with fiery lines brighter than hers, his eyes endless pits of hunger. Very well, you will observe. But do not forget, Huntress, fear is our food. If you cannot deliver it, you will be nothing. She bowed and left, though her chest burned with conflict. She was trusted to bring fear, not to study courage, and yet she could not stop herself. Back on Earth's surface, she returned to the ruins. She found the human again, moving among the survivors, his wounds heavier now, but his spirit unbroken. She watched from the shadows as he pulled a child from the rubble, pressing a hand against her cheek, whispering softly to calm her. The child clung to him, not crying, not trembling. Instead, her tiny eyes shone with the same courage he carried. The huntress felt her throat tighten. Fear was supposed to spread like a sickness, but here, courage spread instead. From one man to many. From many to all. It was wildfire, and she could not smother it. One of her soldiers appeared again, this time impatient. Huntress, the elders grow restless. Why do you watch these creatures? Why do you not crush them? She turned sharply, her glowing eyes locking onto him. Do not question me. But the soldier did not back down. They make you weak. I see it. You stare at them as if they are more than prey. If you falter, I will report you. The threat hung heavy. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Then the huntress stepped closer, her voice low and dangerous. Do so, and you will not live to speak another word. The soldier recoiled, bowing his head in silence. He left quickly, but she knew the suspicion had already begun to grow. She was risking everything by standing here, watching instead of feeding. Still, she could not walk away. Her gaze returned to the man. His shoulders were heavy with exhaustion, but he still moved, still smiled faintly at those around him. When he looked at the night sky, she wondered if he knew she was there. Her claws tightened at her side. She had been sent to break him, yet every moment she stayed, it was her who was breaking. For the first time in her long existence, the huntress felt something even more dangerous than doubt. She felt curiosity. What if this man's courage was not just his own? What if it was humanity's secret weapon, a force her kind had never faced before? The thought both frightened and fascinated her, and deep inside she knew she could not ignore it. The huntress moved through the ruined city with silent steps. Her soldiers spread out, searching for survivors to capture, but she stayed close to the human. She had told herself it was strategy, a way to study the enemy. Yet the truth pressed, heavier on her mind. She wanted to know how far his courage could go. That night she created her first test. When the survivors gathered in a half-collapsed shelter, she released a sound through the air, a low thrum designed to stir fear. On other worlds, such a sound had driven armies to madness. Screams always followed. But here, though some humans trembled, they did not scatter. The man stepped forward, standing in front of the group. His voice was hoarse, his body wounded, but he raised his hand and spoke with steady calm. It's just noise. Do not give it power. Stand with me. The sound filled the air again, pressing harder, twisting into the nerves of every living being. The huntress waited, expecting the collapse. Yet still the humans clung to his words. They pressed closer together, their fear replaced with something different. Trust. The huntress narrowed her glowing eyes. Her kind had believed that fear was inescapable, that no mind could resist its grip. But this man defied it, and through him others did too. She felt her own power slipping, like water running through her claws. The next day she tested him again. As he and a handful of survivors searched for food, she sent shadows crawling across the ruins, illusions designed to mimic monsters. In other places, prey would collapse, consumed by their imaginations. But the man only raised the broken metal pipe he carried as a weapon and stepped toward the shadows. If you are real, fight me. If not, then you have no place here. Your illusions dissolved before his will. The huntress felt a shiver crawl along her skin. He had stripped away her tricks, leaving her exposed in a way she had never known. She retreated into the dark, watching him carefully. Each test she made only seemed to strengthen him, and worse, it spread. The survivors looked at him not as a broken man, but as a leader. His courage was becoming theirs. That evening she sat alone among the ruins of a tower, her claws resting on the stone. Her kind fed on fear as naturally as breathing. But here, she was starving. Every attempt to draw fear only made the humans stronger. She thought of the elders, of their cold eyes and their threats. If they learned what she was doing, they would end her. Yet she could not stop herself. The soldier who had warned her before appeared again, his voice sharp with suspicion. You waste time, Huntress. The humans should already be broken, but instead they grow bolder. Do you not see what you are doing? She turned her gaze on him, her voice low. I see more than you. Do not question my command. But he did not. Leave. His eyes narrowed. You are changing. I can smell it. You watch them too long and you begin to think like them. Be careful, Huntress, or you will share their fate. He left her with those words, and for the first time, she could not deny the truth in them. She was changing. She was beginning to see the humans not as prey but as something else. Something dangerous. Something worth fearing. Her glowing eyes turned back toward the human. He sat near a fire with the others, his face lit by its glow. He was exhausted, scarred, but his smile remained. The huntress pressed a clawed hand against her chest. She did not understand why her heart raced when she looked at him, but she knew one thing clearly. His courage was not a mask. It was real. And it was beginning to break her in ways no enemy ever had. The skies above Earth glowed red with the alien fleet. Their presence spread like a shadow, endless and heavy. The elders of her kind demanded results. To them, fear was not simply power. It was survival. Without it, they would wither. The Huntress was their chosen blade, their perfect weapon, and yet she had delivered nothing. In the council chamber, their voices rose in anger. The humans resist longer than expected, one elder hissed. Why are they not broken? Why? Does fear not fill our halls? The Huntress stood tall, but her heart was heavy. She chose her words carefully. Their will is stronger than any we have faced. They fight even when death is certain. If we crush them too quickly, we may feed for a day, but their memory will inspire others. I say we study them more before final victory. The elders stared at her with burning eyes. To hesitate was shame. To delay was weakness. Still, the eldest spoke slowly. You are bold, Huntress, but boldness is dangerous. Bring us proof. Show us their fear, or your place among us will end. The order was clear. If she did not return with terror, she would be cast out, stripped of honor, perhaps destroyed. When she returned to the surface, her soldiers were waiting. Among them was the one who had been watching her closely, the one who doubted her loyalty. His grin was cruel. The elders grow tired of your excuses. Perhaps I will deliver them the fear they crave. The Huntress's claws twitched. He would not stop until he found a way to expose her hesitation. But she pushed the thought aside and searched for the human once more. She found him leading the survivors deeper into the ruins, toward hidden tunnels where they could avoid patrols. His body was weaker now, his wounds deeper, but his spirit was the same. When he walked, the others followed. When he spoke, their fear lessened. That was when she made her decision. She would test him once more, but this time it would not be illusions or whispers of terror. She would bring him face to face with death and see if his courage still held. The Huntress appeared suddenly before the group, her glowing eyes piercing the dark. Gasps spread among the survivors, but they did not run. They looked to the man. He stepped forward, pipe in hand, his jaw set. You again, he said. His voice was tired but not broken. The Huntress studied him. Your courage interests me, human, but courage is fragile. Let us see if yours can survive what is to come. She raised her hand and her soldiers emerged from the shadows. Blades glinted, eyes burned, the air filled with the hum of alien weapons. The survivors cried out, but the man stood firm, raising his weapon as if it were enough. The soldiers advanced, but the Huntress lifted her arm to stop them. She wanted to see what the man would do, how far he would go when surrounded by death. He turned to the survivors. His voice carried through the night. Stay behind me. Do not let them see fear. If they want me, they'll have to take me first. The survivors straightened. Their terror dulled, their breaths steadied. They mirrored him, standing taller even in the face of doom. The Huntress felt something stir inside her chest. His words were not just defiance. They were power. Power that did not come from fear, but from its absence. Her soldiers looked at her, waiting for the order to strike. For a long moment, silence stretched. She could end him here and deliver his broken body to the elders. She could bring them the fear they demanded. But when she looked at him, scarred, bloodied, yet unshaken, her claws refused to move. For the first time in her life, the Huntress disobeyed. Enough, she said sharply, lowering her hand. Her soldiers froze, confused. She turned away, her voice heavy. This battle is not yet over. Withdraw. The soldiers obeyed, though suspicion burned in their eyes. The human's gaze followed her as she disappeared into the shadows once more. His calm smile lingered, cutting deeper into her heart than any blade. The Huntress returned to her command chamber with a storm inside her chest. Her soldiers followed at a distance, whispering among themselves. They had seen her stop the attack. They had seen her hesitate. To them, hesitation was weakness. And weakness was unforgivable. The one who distrusted her most approached again, his eyes glowing with hunger. "You let them live," he said in a low hiss. "You had them surrounded. Fear was ripe, yet you turned away." The Huntress's claws flexed, but her voice was steady. "I said withdraw. My word is law until the elders say otherwise." The soldier leaned closer, sneering. "Your word will not save you when they learn you protect these creatures. They will strip you of your rank, Huntress, and I will be the one to take your place." She stared at him, her eyes blazing, but he did not step back. He had seen her doubt, and now he would use it against her. She knew it was only a matter of time before he went to the elders with his suspicions. That night, she walked alone among the ruins, the silence heavy with her thoughts. Every moment she spent near the humans changed her. She had been shaped to feed on fear, but now she felt fear of her own. Fear that she no longer belonged to her kind. From a high tower, she watched the human again. He moved among the survivors, his body weaker than before but his spirit the same. His courage spread like fire, keeping them alive. When they looked at him, their eyes carried strength, not terror. The Huntress pressed her clawed hand against her chest. She could not deny the truth any longer. The humans had something greater than fear, and she, who had been born to break worlds, could not break them. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sudden sound of wings. She turned and found the suspicious soldier standing behind her, his face twisted with triumph. "I knew it," he hissed. "You watched them like a protector, not a predator. You are no Huntress anymore. You are weak." He raised his weapon, a jagged blade glowing with fire. "The elders will know, unless of course I bring them your head first." The Huntress's eyes narrowed. She stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You think you can challenge me?" The soldier bared his teeth. "I think you've already lost. The moment you spared that human, you betrayed us all." The clash came swiftly. Blades rang in the night, sparks bursting as their weapons struck. The Huntress moved with deadly grace, but her heart was torn. She did not want this fight, yet she could not allow him to speak. If the elders learned the truth too soon, the humans would be destroyed before she understood them fully. The soldier pressed harder, his strikes wild but powerful. "You protect them. I can smell it on you. You've been infected by their courage." His words cut deep, not because they were lies, but because they were true. The Huntress snarled, slashing with precision. Her blade struck, sending him crashing to the ground. He gasped, glowing blood spilling across the stones. She stood over him, her chest heaving, her claws trembling. "You will not speak," she whispered. Her eyes glowed brighter than the flames around them. "Not to the elders, not to anyone." The soldier tried to laugh, but his voice broke into a cough. "You are already lost." His light faded. Silence returned. The Huntress stood alone, the weight of her choice pressing heavy. She had killed one of her own, not in war, but to protect the humans. To protect him. She turned back toward the campfire where the human sat with his people. She felt something strange in her chest, something more dangerous than doubt. It was not hunger. It was not fear. It was something she had no word for yet, and she knew at last that her fate was tied to his. The ruins were quiet, save for the crackle of fires and the distant hum of alien patrols. The Huntress stood in the shadows watching the human as she had so many nights before. His movements were slower now, his body worn from wounds and exhaustion, yet his spirit remained. He spoke to the survivors in a calm voice, steady and warm, and they listened with hope shining in their tired eyes. The Huntress's claws tightened at her side. She had killed one of her own to protect this fragile flame of courage. It was a crime her kind would never forgive, and yet she could not bring herself to regret it. The man was no longer just a curiosity. He was something more, something she needed to understand. That night, she did something she had never done before. She stepped out of the shadows and approached him openly. The survivors gasped and scrambled back when they saw her glowing form, their fear finally breaking loose. But the man did not move. He rose slowly, his broken pipe still in his hand, and met her gaze with the same calm defiance. "It seems you like watching," he said. His voice was tired, but there was no fear in it. The Huntress tilted her head, studying him closely. "You knew I was there?" His faint smile appeared again. "Of course, you're hard to miss," the survivors whispered nervously, waiting for death. But the Huntress did not attack. Instead, she stepped closer until only the fire separated them. Her glowing eyes softened, though her voice still carried its edge. "Why do you not fear me?" she asked. The question was sharper than any blade. The man's gaze did not falter. "Because fear is what you want, and I don't give my enemies what they want." The answer stirred something deep in her chest, something she could not name. She lowered herself slightly, her sharp features catching the firelight. "Do you not understand? Without fear, I am nothing. My kind is nothing." He tilted his head, studying her as if she were the puzzle instead of him. "Then maybe you should stop living off fear. Maybe that's why you can't understand us." His words cut deeper than any wound. She had lived her entire life believing fear was power, that it was the essence of strength. But here was a wounded human telling her otherwise, and she could not deny the truth in his eyes. The survivors watched in silence, unsure if they were witnessing the end or something else entirely. The Huntress leaned closer, her glowing eyes searching his face. "You should hate me. I have taken your people, burned your cities, yet still you stand before me without fear. Why?" The man's smile faded into something softer, heavier. "Because hate and fear are chains. Courage is freedom. Even if we lose, even if I die here, I die free. That's something you'll never take from us." The Huntress's breath caught. For the first time in centuries, she felt weak. Not because of wounds, not because of hunger, but because she saw in him something she could never destroy. A survivor behind him whispered, "Why? Doesn't she kill us?" But the man did not answer. He kept his eyes on her, steady as stone. The Huntress rose slowly, her glowing lines pulsing with confusion. She could not kill him. She could not even touch him. His courage had stripped her of power. And yet, instead of rage, she felt drawn to it. "You are dangerous," she whispered, her voice almost trembling. "More dangerous than any army." He gave a faint nod. "Then you finally understand." The fire crackled between them, casting long shadows across the ruins. For the first time, predator and prey stood as equals. And though she did not say it aloud, the Huntress knew her world had changed forever. High above the planet, the elders grew restless. Reports from their scouts spoke of human resistance not breaking, but growing. Cities still smoldered, but pockets of survivors were fighting harder, inspired by whispers of courage that spread faster than fear. To the elders, there could be only one explanation: the Huntress had failed. "She has grown soft," one elder hissed. "She lingers too long among them." "She feeds us nothing," another growled. "Her hesitation starves us all. Send another. Send a legion if we must." The eldest, his glowing eyes like burning suns, leaned forward. "The Huntress was our sharpest blade. If she has dulled, we will replace her. But first we must see the truth with our own eyes. Dispatch others. Watch her. If she betrays us, she will be ended." On the surface, the Huntress felt the weight of their judgment pressing down. She could sense the presence of other hunters moving closer, shadows with orders to watch her every step. Her own people no longer trusted her. One misstep, and they would strike. She stood on a ruined rooftop, her gaze fixed on the human camp below. The man was still there, leading his people through hardship. His wounds had not healed, but his spirit carried them. Every time he spoke, their fear lessened. Every time he smiled, they stood taller. The huntress felt a strange pride stirring inside her. It frightened her because pride in prey was forbidden, but she could not deny what she saw. He was reshaping them, not into victims, but into something her kind could not feed on. Something untouchable. That night, as she watched the camp, she felt a new presence behind her. One of her own stood in the shadows, a silent figure with glowing eyes. His voice was low and cold. "The elders doubt you, Huntress. They believe you are compromised. Prove them wrong. Bring us the human's fear. Break him." She turned, her jaw tight. "And if I refuse?" The soldier's grin was sharp. "Then you will be replaced. Perhaps I will be the one to finish what you could not." He leapt into the night, leaving, his threat hanging heavy. The huntress closed her eyes, her chest burning with conflict. She was running out of time. If she did not act, the elders would send legions to wipe the humans from existence. Yet if she obeyed, she would have to destroy the very thing that fascinated her, the courage that made this species different. The next day she returned to the human openly once more. The survivors froze, fear flashing in their eyes. But the man stepped forward calmly as before. His broken weapon hung in his hand, his voice steady. "You again," he said. She studied him for a long moment. "The elders demand your fear. If I do not give it to them, they will burn your world to ash." He did not flinch. "Then let them burn. Fear is still a choice." Her claws curled at her side. "Do you not understand? You are putting your entire species at risk. They will destroy you to the last." The man's faint smile returned. "Then they'll learn what it means to fight a people who do not break." The huntress felt her chest tighten. She had come here to warn him, to perhaps frighten him into hiding, but his words only deepened her doubt. He would not break, not even when told of his world's doom. And if he would not, then neither would his people. For the first time she felt something dangerous. Loyalty. Not to her kind, but to him. As the night settled, she looked at him across the firelight. I defy them," she said quietly. "If I stand against my own, the galaxy will change." "Do you understand what that means?" The man held her gaze, his voice firm. "It means you'll finally be free." Her heart raced. The words cut through the centuries of chains she had worn without question. Free. The idea terrified her more than anything, and yet she wanted it. In the shadows beyond, she could feel her kind watching. The next step would decide everything, her loyalty, her survival, and perhaps the fate of humanity itself. The night was heavy with silence. Above the clouds, the alien fleet glowed red, waiting for the order to strike. Below, in the ruins, the huntress stood at the edge of two worlds. Behind her were the shadows of her kind, watching her with suspicion, blades ready to cut her down if she faltered again. In front of her stood the man and his survivors, tired and broken, but unafraid. The elders' voices rang in her mind. "Bring us fear or be nothing." Her claws trembled at her sides. All she needed to do was take one step forward, strike him down, and deliver his terror to the fleet. That would prove her loyalty. That would silence the doubt. But when her glowing eyes met his, she saw no fear to claim. She saw a man who would rather die standing than live on his knees. He raised his chin and spoke, his voice calm despite the danger. "Do what you came to do, but know this. Our courage doesn't end with me. Every human carries it. You can kill us, but you'll never own us." The words tore through her like lightning. For centuries she had lived as a weapon of fear, believing it was the only truth. But this man, this fragile human, had shown her something greater. Fear could be broken. Courage could not. Behind her, one of the alien soldiers stepped forward. "Huntress," he hissed. "Finish it. Feed." She turned slowly, her glowing lines blazing brighter than ever. "No." The soldier froze. "What did you say?" Her voice cut like steel. "I said no. I will not feed. Not on them." The air grew tense. The soldiers shifted, uncertain, but the shadows of the elders loomed. They had heard her defiance. The man's eyes widened slightly, not in fear, but in recognition. He understood what it meant for her to stand against her own. The soldier snarled and raised his blade. Then you are no longer Huntress. You are prey. He lunged, but she moved faster. With a cry that shook the ruins, she struck, her claws slicing through him with deadly precision. The soldier collapsed, glowing blood staining the ground. The others hesitated, stunned. To kill one of their own was the greatest betrayal. But the Huntress stood tall, her glowing body burning brighter than the fires around her. She turned her gaze skyward, speaking not just to the soldiers before her, but to the fleet above, to the elders watching through their endless eyes. You feed on fear because you are weak, she declared. These humans have shown me the truth. Courage is stronger. It is endless, and it is something you can never take from them. Her words echoed through the night. The soldiers snarled in rage, but none dared move. The man stepped forward, his broken pipe still in hand, and stood beside her. His presence was small compared to her towering frame, yet in that moment they were equals. Predator and prey no longer. Two beings bound by defiance. The fleet above stirred, engines roaring as if the elders raged in the skies. But the humans, in the ruins, did not tremble. They stood shoulders straight, fear stripped away. The Huntress knew what would come next. Her kind would never forgive. They would send more, perhaps armies, to erase her betrayal. But she no longer cared. For the first time she felt free. She turned to the man, her sharp smile softer now. You have given me something I never thought possible. He raised an eyebrow. And what's that? Doubt, she said. And through it, freedom. The man chuckled faintly despite his wounds. Then maybe we're not so different after all. For the first time in her long life, the Huntress laughed, a sound raw and strange on her lips. The ruins shook with the promise of war, but between them stood something greater than fear. The galaxy had always believed her kind invincible, but now, with one human's courage, their rule had begun to crack, and the Huntress, once a weapon of terror, chose to stand with the very prey she was sent to consume.